My name is John Mad Dog Hall. I am the Board Chair Emeritus of the Linux Professional Institute and the Executive Director of Linux International. The talk today is called Open Source 201, The Next Steps. Before we really start, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself, in case you're not familiar with me. I have been in computers for a very long time, since 1969, and I've been using open source my entire life. I've been using free software specifically since 1986, and Linux since 1994 when I met Linus Torvalds. I have worked for a large number of companies, both large and small. I've been a programmer, a systems administrator, but most importantly, an educator and a mentor. I've worked on extremely large systems and extremely small ones. But most of all, what I like to think is I am pragmatic, which means I get the job done. Now, 4 years ago at Nerdearla, I gave a talk, and the talk was about open source, and it was called Open Source 101. And in that talk, I made the statement that people do not buy hardware and software, but what they buy is solutions. And even if your problem that you're trying to solve is playing a game, well, it just so happens that computers are very good for playing games, and particularly across the internet. So that's why you would buy the hardware and the software. And some people buy gaming consoles that do just that. And all of what I said back in 2020 is just as true today, and even more so. So this talk is going to start where that talk left off and continue forward with solutions. Now, of course, when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about open solutions, open software, things like BSD or Linux, or other types of open operating systems where the source code is published and you get to see how it works, you get to change it, you get to support it, even on very old pieces of hardware. And there are hundreds of thousands of additional pieces of software that go beyond the operating system that you can utilize to make solutions. I'm talking about open hardware. It's particularly single board computers like the BeagleBone or the Raspberry Pi or the Caninos Loucos Labrador computer from Brazil. All of these are open computers where you can see how they work. You can see how the software works with them. And today, there's even more open hardware than there was 4 years ago. The NVIDIA company, as an example, has opened up their device drivers after a very long time of keeping them closed. And the Linux bootloader is able to boot your system all the way from the very beginning. And all of this is open, so you can see how they work, to see if there's any malware in them, to change them as your needs change. I'm also talking about open data through licensing, like things like Creative Commons. And this allows you to put together complete solutions. Now, it's one thing to have a solution, and it's another thing to have a business plan as to how you bring that solution forward. Whether that is just maintaining it yourself for your own benefit, or whether that's by selling it to somebody else and selling them support in keeping it going. Now, if you take a look at business in most countries, and this is equally true in Argentina, about 50% of the economy is actually small to medium business. We always hear about the large companies and the large organizations that work, but actually 50% of the economy comes from organizations that may only have 5 people in them or 10 people in them, or even one person working alone. And if you take a look at the number of small and medium businesses in Argentina, there's about 400,000 of them listed in the category of commerce. In other words, doing business. They're not the military, they're not the government, they are commerce. And all of these companies typically would like to use, if they don't already, something known as an enterprise resource planning system, also known as ERP. And sometimes that goes along with that is something known as a point of sale system, POS. These systems are the same ones that you see when you go into McDonald's and you place your order, and they ring it up and they print the receipt and you give them the money or you give them a credit card. They're the same ones you see at a small grocery store where you take your goods up to the front, they scan the barcodes, they ring it up, they print off the receipt for you, and you give them the money. These are point of sale, and they're tied to an ERP system. Now, throughout the world, there's an organization known as ODOO, ODOO, and they are an open source project to create a point of sale and ERP system. There's software that you can pull down off the internet that creates a complete system for this for small business. And in the ERP part of the system, it includes programs like accounting or a customer relationship management system, also known as CRM, or allows you to set up rental of hardware or software that you sell. It allows you to do project management. It allows you to set up timesheets for employees. It allows you to take care of inventory. It allows you to set up manufacturing and purchase orders. It handles the sales department, even a human relations department known as HR. All of these are different modules in different areas and more that ODOO does, and you can pull the software down off the net to set up an ERP system and also a point of sale system. And this could be then sold to small companies or small businesses to be able for them to be able to manage their business better. A lot of these small businesses are doing all of their management using pencil and paper. And they would love to have a system that could do this. Unfortunately, most of the systems out there are run by companies like Oracle or Hewlett-Packard, and they're aimed at much larger companies, and they're much more expensive, and they're very closed. So you can't change them to meet the needs of the end user customer. Now, we've been working to take a lot of the software and to make it available in Argentina for a very small amount of money. We're aiming to put the software on a 64-bit Labrador, which is part of the Caninos Loucos project, which I talked about last year, and also the Raspberry Pi 5, either one, because this software works basically on an ARM system, and it is included in the Debian packaging. The hardware that's necessary for the point of sale system is a barcode scanner. There's the make and model number, a printer, Epson TM T20011, cache drawer, USB hub to plug devices into, a display of some type. It doesn't have to be a Samsung 21-inch. It could be some other display, maybe a smaller one. And then a mouse and a keyboard and some type of storage. It could be an external USB disk drive or SSD, or it could be, with the case of the Raspberry Pi, an M2 memory stick that plugs into the PCIe bus. You could build this system for less than $500 US. That's everything that I have there. And then you could sell this to a customer for over time, and you could collect money in helping them to set up the system, to hook it all together. They could have multiple point of sale systems for every ERP system to help cut down on the cost. And it's a very, very powerful system that would keep a small business going for years and years. Now, this software is not cheap software. It is not something that, okay, it just does a little bit. This is very powerful software. And there are many companies inside of Argentina that are selling second level support or first level support, but they would love to have a student or a person providing what we call frontline support to their customers. That if something goes wrong, the person would show up at the customer site, help the customer with a lot of simple things to make the system work again, maybe do backups for the customer, hook in new systems for the customer, because the customer doesn't want to know about ODOO, really. They don't want to know about computers. They want to simply run their business. And so they'd be willing to pay somebody to help them set up their ODOO system, to help them get going, and then to keep maintaining it over time. These companies would love to have a contact so that when the customer has a problem, the contact would go over to the customer's site. Because a lot of these companies only really supply support over the telephone, and that can be difficult at times. So you can make a liaison between these companies that are providing the telephone support, secondary support, and the customer, which is local to you. And that could be a way of doing business. You would be the frontline sales and support for some of these customers or some of these companies. So that's one particular solution that could be done with free software and open hardware and open data. Another thing that could be done is to provide a secure, low-cost home server or community server. A project called freedombox.org was started probably about 15 years ago by a professor at Columbia University, Evan Boglin. He went in and said, we need to have a low-cost server that draws just a little bit of electrical power that would be secure and safe and easy to set up for the home user. And from that server, they could store their most secret of data. From that system, they could provide the services that they would normally get from some cloud service. In effect, you could create your own local cloud. And you could do this not only for yourself and for your family, but you could also do it for a community of people that you know and you trust. You put all of your data and all of your services on this little box. What type of services? You can set up your own VPN. You can set up your own web server. You can set up your own email system. You can set up your own Discord server. You could do all these things that you hear about, or you maybe buy services from some company. You could do this, and you could put this on your own little computer system. And it would be very secure. You'd be able to know, you'd be able to see all the software. There'd be no binary blobs that would hide things from you. And you could set it up yourself. And then you could actually sell services to other people. Now, where did you get this software from? You can get it off the net at freedombox.org, or all of the software is actually already included in Debian releases. And so you can pull down Debian as a blobless piece of software. In other words, there's no hidden functionality in there. You can see everything through the source code. You can buy a single board computer, either say a Labrador 64-bit or a Raspberry Pi 5, and you can attach storage to it to allow you to store your data or store the data of the community. There's a panel that's included in FreedomBox that helps make it easier to install, to set up and control the software that's there. Now, is this easy enough for mom and pop, your mother and father? Probably not. That's where you come in. But you also don't have to be a network genius to be able to install the software, get it up and running, and have it do what it should do. Now, in addition to all the software you get directly from FreedomBox, you also have cloud software that you can get from nextcloud.com. And you can then set up shared file systems, shared documents, document editing, and stuff like that through the Nextcloud software. You could also set up Fediverse software, things like GNU Social, the equivalent of, I'm not going to say X, but the equivalent of Twitter. And, all this software, the equivalent of Facebook. You can set up this software from the Fediverse.party website. And then it becomes software for a community server, not just your own. In addition to all of this, in order to make it safer and more secure, you can actually set up your own certificate authentication without having to pay anybody any fee for that. It's free of charge. So this is very, very powerful software that's included in the Debian releases already. So if you put Debian 12 on one of these little computers or on your laptop, you could run this software for free, and you don't have to go any other place. That was the second solution that could be sold or supported. Here's the third one: a home entertainment system that is also controlling your house and also could be a first connection to the internet. So the main part of this is the Kodi multimedia system from Kodi TV. And I'm sure a lot of you people have seen this already. You know about it already. This software is, in a lot of cases, the functionality that smart TVs have. If you go to the store, you see what is a smart TV. It's because these manufacturers have put Kodi into their TV, and that's what creates a smart TV. But you could do the same thing through your own single board computer or an old laptop or an old desktop system. You can set up your own multimedia system, and you could have control of what you do. You could have very good surround sound, either 2.1, 5.1, or 7.1 surround sound. You could put on a 4K or an 8K LCD panel, or you could have projection TV through HDMI. You can set up a very, very nice and very powerful multimedia system. Or you can set up a very simple one, and we'll show you an example of that in a few minutes. But in addition to all of this, this could be a first contact or first computer for somebody to browse the internet. There's a lot of people in countries who are too poor to really buy a nice computer to be able to browse the internet. But you could use the same single board computer that you would normally use for your multimedia system. You could use it to browse the internet, give people connectivity to the internet with the addition of a keyboard and a mouse and an LCD panel. In addition to all of this, you can set up the same computer to be able to control a person's house, to turn on and off their air conditioning, to turn on and off their lights, to do all the types of stuff that Google Home would do, but it is under their control. And the software is free. You may have to buy some components like switches, intelligent switches, and intelligent lights and things like that to do it. But it's a lot cheaper and a lot better to control it through Home Assistant than through the software, which comes from various large companies in the United States. You could also set up a security system. Now, a lot of times people break into apartments through the front door. They don't come in through windows because maybe there's bars on the windows and things like that. So they come in through the front door. You could take a webcam and aim it towards the front door, set on motion detection, and have the system send you a picture of the people breaking into your house so that you could then call the police and have them go and arrest the people. This is a picture of a very, very simple system set up using Kodi. It was done at a trade show. This is a 2.0 sound system. It's basically stereo and an LCD panel showing a movie. This is the simplest system. You could add a subwoofer to this to make 2.1. You could add more speakers with a different amplifier to give it more strength and things. You could have a very good system, and you would be able to use your smartphone as a remote or a regular TV remote to be able to control it. So it's a very, very powerful system that you can find at Kodi.tv. In addition to everything which I've showed you in this talk, there are hundreds of thousands of additional pieces of software that you could put together with a Linux system and all these open source projects to be able to create your own products, your own solutions, and to be able to sell them and to be able to support them and create a business for yourself. Only your imagination is the limiting part of this. Once you have built this, you could then do social marketing to be able to spread the news. Talk to your family and acquaintances and have them talk up what you're doing. Go to your town government and say, I can help you set up a server. I can help you set up a social media site with free software. And now you're doing something locally. You're creating jobs for local people. You have somebody locally you can go to get changes made. It's something that's being done in your country, not in some other country like the United States or Great Britain or Europe or other places. You're setting up your own social groups under your control. And you can market this locally and support this locally instead of them getting support from somebody far away. More importantly, you can tailor the software to the needs of the customer. Whatever their needs are, if you can't do it, you can find people who have the talent and the expertise to do it. And your customer would pay extra for that because this is out of the normal support realm. So with that, I will stop my talk and we can have some questions through the mechanisms. And I thank you very much for listening to me.